Hey guys, how you doing? Luna here with a new video for the channel, and welcome back to another episode of the Versus series where I take your favorite artists, albums or songs and face them off against each other. Today's video has been brought to you by my good friend over here. Thank you very much for requesting this video. I am right here to fulfill your request. Prince against Michael Jackson is probably one of the oldest beefs in music history. That turns out that, believe it or not, it was kind of a big deal in the 80s and 90s, and especially in the 2000s when the two artists were discussing their legacy, which one was bigger, which one was better. It was kind of a stupid question because it is true that both Prince and Michael Jackson had completely different styles. So why did people like to face them up against each other that much? The thing is that they were both divas. They were both really eccentric artists. Michael Jackson and Prince always had this thing that they like to show off, that they like to express a lot with their music. They both had a similar style of putting their excitement out there. And while sometimes it can get a bit disturbing and sometimes it was kind of weird, most of the time it only elevated the music more and more. So that is why I think this is a great idea for a video. Now, please remember that this is only my personal opinion, so if you have your own, leave it down below in the comments. I'll be happy to look at your comment, reply to your comment, and we can have a little discussion in the comment section. So feel free to leave your comments down below. Also, the way that we do these videos is I pick different categories, for example, popularity, discography, performance, and influence. And based on those 4 categories, we're gonna make the decision, the final statement, which one is better. Is it Prince or Michael Jackson? So with that being said, let's go on with the first category, popularity. The reason why I'm talking about popularity first is because as I said multiple times, it is the least important one in my opinion. I don't give a fuck how many people listen to your music. I don't give a fuck how many people like you, as a celebrity. And the fact is that both Michael Jackson and Prince were pretty big worldwide stars in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But even though they were both massive when it comes to popularity, it's really easy to pick one. And the fact is that Michael Jackson isn't only one of the most popular artists of all time, is one of the most popular human beings ever. Actually, his popularity, I believe in the 90s, something like this came out that Michael Jackson was as popular as Christianity. Now, some of you may argue that this popularity didn't always have to do with his music and had to do more with all the controversies he had at the time. For example, his multiple legal issues when it comes to children, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. All of those problems, even though they're horrible, and it obviously was a big problem for him, those problems kept him relevant because in the 90s, Michael Jackson wasn't releasing that much music, or at least not at the level that he was in the 70s and 80s. So I'm pretty sure that those problems kept him on the news and kept him on everyone's mouths. So yeah. But regardless, the fact is that Michael Jackson was way more popular than Prince was. Maybe in the US, they were pretty much the same. But when you step out of the US, it's insane the amount of love that Michael Jackson received. So I'm giving this point to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is probably one of the most popular beings in history. Now, when it comes to influence, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. And I know a lot of people are going to be pissed at what I'm going to say. But I think that Prince was way more influential than Michael Jackson. Let me explain why. Michael Jackson had a pretty unique way of singing, like super unique. The tone of his voice is something I've never heard again in my entire life. And let me tell you, I've listened to thousands of albums, thousands of fucking albums. I've listened to all of it. But I've never heard anything close to Michael Jackson when it comes to the style of his voice. So thin, but so powerful, so groovy, but at the same time so feminine. And when it comes to the actual music, he wasn't doing anything new at the time. Actually, if anything, he was going with the times. Off the Wall was released at the peak of disco music, so there wasn't anything new about it. And the same thing with Thriller, The fact is that Thriller isn't considered such a great album because of its uniqueness or influence or anything. It's because of how well put together it is and how well performed it is and how great the melodies, the ideas, the execution of those ideas were on that album. It's a great album, but it's not like a unique album. Now, when it comes to Prince, it is true that by the end of his career, he was doing some really weird ass that was generic but unique at the same time in a really weird way. Like, it's really hard to describe it. I'm not going to get into detail about that because it would be really hard to explain. When it comes to the 80s and when it comes to late 70s, he was doing music like no other person was doing, mixing new wave with funk music, with R&B, a little bit of jazz in there, and his performance, not only, the things that he was saying that was really explicit. Dirty Mind is one of the most explicit albums ever to come out of the mainstream, because you can probably find some really weird sexual shit out there that's on the underground, like probably 100% actually. But when it comes to the mainstream, the fact that this album was released out of the mainstream, it's insane. Don't listen to this fucking album on speakers, because you're probably going to disturb your neighbors. Listen to this with headphones, and it's such a explicit and sexually assaulting album that obviously set the footprint for many artists that wanted to get more, sexy when it comes to the lyrics, but couldn't do it other than just some references or one line or two lines on the song, and that's pretty much it. Like, honestly, the people that look at the current, trap scene and think that is way too explicit and that talks way too much about sex, a lot of people talking about Cardi B. Cardi B has nothing against an album like Dirty Mind. Like, literally, this thing is the personification of sexual desires, and I fucking love it. But I'm getting off topic. The thing is, what I'm trying to say is that Prince not only had influence in sounds by using synths, by using different types of arrangements when it comes to his voice over pop instrumentals, because let me tell you, the way that you use your voice over an instrumental can also be influential, because Prince's performance was really groovy and expressive over a synth pop beat, over a new wave beat, and that influenced a lot of people to go with that style. But that's more to his performance. When it comes to instrumentation, again, this mix between new wave, funk, and R&B was more present with albums like 1999, Sign of the Times, Purple Rain, albums that are so legendary and were so influential and important for music that it's hard not to give this point in terms of influence to Prince. And matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. Michael Jackson, yes, he was influential, but from a different point of view, from something that goes beyond music. Instead, Prince was both. He was influential when it came to him as a person, as as an artist. His image as a performer was influential, but also his music, it was unique, and he did things that no one else was doing at the time that went on to inspire people to do the same in, future projects. So I'm giving this point to Prince. Let's go on with the next one. When it comes to performance, this is a really difficult one too, because it's different. Michael Jackson brings things to the table that are completely different than Prince's, but I don't know which one I like the most. Basically, Prince is someone that can have some really versatile vocals. When I'm telling you this, is that he can go to a mixed voice, to a breathy voice, and a tenor voice, like this super quickly, and that adds a lot of spice to his music and helps him being as expressive as he is. So it would be really easy to give this point to him because he's one of my favorite performers in the history of music. He really does know how to express his feelings, and not only feelings of sadness, as 99% of the music industry is doing right now, but feelings of desire, of sexual desire, of heartbreak from a toxic point of view, of self-esteem, as feeling like a god, feeling like something that it's special, that no one else is. Prince is the personification of that, of being unique, of expressing this uniqueness, and to effectively portraying his character to the point where you don't know if he was actually like that in real life or if he was just too good when performing or portraying this character. But Michael Jackson is one of the most, in terms of technical ability, is one of the most prolific singers I've seen in my life. But not only that, he was also incredibly expressive too, not at the level of Prince. It was in a different way. It was with some sort of ad-libs, and I'm pretty sure you'll heard it, the he-he's, the And the tone of his voice, you know, that unique ass voice that I love, the way that he knew how to make his voice really breathy and thin at the right moment, the crazy amount of chemistry he had with the instrumentation, how he knew exactly when to improvise, what to do, especially in songs like The Way You Make Me Feel, Remember the Time, Thriller, Beat It. Oh my God, the amazing performance he put on with Beat It. So honestly, both artists bring different things to the table. With Prince, you have this expressiveness, this craziness, you know, this character that he's portraying. And with Michael Jackson, you have so much technical ability and so much passion at the time of performing these songs that I honestly cannot pick one. So I'm giving 1 point each. Is my video, I can do that. This is a tie. I cannot choose. Maybe y'all like Prince more, maybe you like Michael Jackson more, and you're completely right. Any of the two is completely fine because they're both amazing and they both perform in really different ways. So I'm not about to compare them and give a point to, you know, one or the other. For me, they're both amazing and they both bring something that, you know, is equally rewarding. So 1 point each. As you can see, the score is tied. So we're choosing discography to determine who is the better artist, Michael Jackson or Prince. Which one's better? Discography will tell us that answer. Now, discography is by far the most important category because that is, you know, the actual music, the actual songs, the actual albums. You can be a lay performer, you can be someone that's not popular at all, and you could, you know, have no influence in the industry whatsoever. But if you have a good discography, I'm sold. I am 100% sold. Obviously, Prince is someone that has more than 30 fucking albums, so I'm not going to go through each and every single one. I'm going to focus on the best 4, and the same thing with Michael Jackson, and that is how we're going to pick a winner. With Michael Jackson, you have Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous. Now, the first 3 albums belong in the Hall of Fame of Music. They were really good records, they're amazing records, and some of the best music you can find in both the 80s and the 70s. Dangerous is an album that is way more underwhelming, but it still has some amazing tracks, and it's still a really good album. When it comes to Prince, though, you have Dirty Mind, 1999, Sign of the Times, and Purple Rain. And those 4 albums I've described are some of the best albums of all time, hands down, period. But also, each and every single one of them is unique in its own way. While Michael Jackson's music, I'm not saying that, you know, Off the Wall is the same thing as Thriller, you can definitely find similarities between them, really obvious and evident similarities, especially when it comes to the performance. His albums are more a collection of hits rather than actual crafted albums, especially in the case of Thriller and Bad. Dangerous and Off the Wall are probably 2 of the most cohesive albums that Michael Jackson has released, and those are albums that don't have this, you know, the most solid track list. Off the Wall is a great album and one of the best albums from 1978. I do believe that the second half of the album is not nearly as good as the first one. Same thing with Thriller. Obviously the best tracks are the title track, Beat It, and Billie Jean, and the other tracks serve as fillers for those tracks to be promoted. With Prince instead, obviously I believe that Sign of the Times is the best album out of those 4, but it's not that far apart from Purple Rain or 1989 or Dirty Mind. I could listen to any of these albums, you know, depending on the way I feel. Sometimes I don't even feel I'm listening to the same fucking person, and that's the level of excellency Prince had at the time of portraying a character in his record. So honestly, even though I love Michael Jackson's discography, I think it's really good. I think that many people overlook his 70s material. There are definitely a lot of songs in there you should check out. Maybe not the ones from 1975 or 76, I believe. Those albums can be quite problematic when it comes to his identity as an artist, but definitely his early work with the Jackson 5s is something to look for. And it's something that I believe a lot of people just overlook because of how Michael Jackson spoke about those days. But definitely you have some great songs in there. When it comes to Prince, obviously you have so many more albums to go through. And honestly, the top 10, you're never going to be wasting your time when listening to a Prince album. Maybe if you go to the 2000s material, you could, But what I'm trying to say is that any Prince album is worth your time. Definitely give the man's discography a try, the whole discography. Don't just stay with Purple Rain, people. The guy has more albums. I could talk more about his discography. There are only one or two albums I haven't heard, but I think that needs a separate video because it's such a long fucking discography. I couldn't possibly put it in a video like this. What I'm trying to say is that yes, I do think that Michael Jackson has an amazing discography, but I'm really sorry, it's not better than Prince's discography, or at least in my opinion, it's not better than Prince's discography. As you can see, guys, Prince has taken the crown for this video, and yes, I am totally happy with that result. I do agree Prince is slightly better than Michael Jackson, at least in my opinion. You know, obviously Prince couldn't feel Michael Jackson's shoes. I think that they're both different artists. I think that these comparisons are only to have fun. Depending on the day, I may tell you that Michael Jackson is better. Depending on the day, I may rather listening to a Michael Jackson album over Prince's. But honestly, I think it was a really fun video to make. I had a lot of fun personally. Leave me your opinion down below. Which one do you think is better? Do you like Prince more than Michael Jackson, or Michael Jackson more than Prince? Now, with that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos that I upload. It's really fun to make these fucking videos. I love making the Versus series. It's one of my favorite things to record. So if you have any other artists you want me to face off against each other, feel free to let me know, and I'll make sure to fulfill your request as I did with this one. With that being said, once again, I really hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that I can see you guys again with a new video soon. But until then, bye.